first guest this evening is a former mayor of Newark, current U.S. Senator, and a Democratic candidate for president of these United States. Please welcome back to The Late Show, Senator Cory Booker.
We pay twice as much for our prescription medicine in the United States as they do in the rest of the world. And why is that? Why do we pay twice as much? Why? Because our government is completely corrupt, and everyone knows it. And it's funny when you say, hey, maybe we should have the same health care as Canada. People go, what are you, a fairy duster? You can't have that in America. And they never finish the thought. Why? Because, you know, our government's completely corrupted and everybody's bribed. You know, the people that get elected, they don't represent the people. You dummy. That's what they're really saying. That's what they're saying. You're a dummy because you think you can have nice things like the rest of the world. You only live in the richest country in the world. Or they'll say, who's going to pay for that? Yeah. How can we afford cheaper drugs? Who's going to pay for that half-price medicine? See how stupid that is? It is stupid. So Bernie Sanders, he's got enough of it. Listen to his speech. This is when he proposed a bill, but let's listen to what he has to say.
I live 50 miles away from Canada, and in many cases, they pay 50% less for the same exact medicine that we buy in Vermont or in America. And we all know the reason why. The power and wealth of the pharmaceutical industry and their 1,300 lobbyists and unlimited sums of money have bought the United States Congress. Let's be clear about it. Today, Mr. Trump, a guy I don't quote very often, he said that Pharma gets away with murder. That's what Trump said. He's right. Year after year.
I think a lot of you are going to want to hear this next story. There's a new proposal that could help you save money the next time you go to the pharmacy. Governor DeSantis wants to create a program to bring cheaper Canadian prescription drugs to the state of Florida. So Catherine joins us live with how this proposal would work and what it would mean for you. Catherine, what can you tell us?
Chris, according to the Organization for Economic Development and Cooperation, the average American spends $1,200 a year on prescription drugs. DeSantis says he believes his new plan will change that. Right now, it is illegal to import unapproved prescription drugs into the U.S., but the Department of Health and Human Services Secretary has the power to approve a program allowing prescription drugs from Canada. Back in 2003, the Medicare Modernization Act gave the U.S. Health Secretary the authority to permit the importation of prescription drugs from Canada, but only if the agency certifies there's no health risk to the public and, of course, the prescription drugs are reduced in cost. Last year, Vermont became the first state in the nation to enact a prescription drug importation law, but the state is still developing its plan. And here's another big number for you. DeSantis says his plan won't just save money for people like you and me. It could also save the state tens of millions of dollars in prescription drugs for prisoners, interestingly enough. DeSantis said he spoke with the president about this plan this week, and the Trump administration is on board. He says he'll also continue to work with President Trump to make sure this process works.
Today, Mr. Trump, a guy I don't quote very often, he said that Pharma gets away with murder. That's what Trump said. He's right. Year after year.
Wow. So that, by the way, that is how you win. You don't just oppose the idea of Trump because he's right about some stuff. And then this is how you do it. You take their own words. You use it for good. And listen to what he's saying. 50% less in Canada for drugs. Here we go.
The same old takes place. We get amendments like Mr. Alexander, Senator Alexander, and the pharmaceutical industry makes more and more money, and the American people pay higher and higher prices. The time has come for us to stand up to the drug companies. Let's do it tonight. Let's defeat the Alexander Amendment. Let's support the Klobuchar-Sanders Amendment.
Wow. So what was the amendment? The amendment was to allow for the importation of drugs into the United States from Canada. It didn't pass. Even though, how many Republicans joined them? 12 or 13? Give me the direct number on that. Joined them. Joined the Democrats. So that was the Bernie Sanders bill to allow for the importation of prescription drugs into the United States from Canada. Why do you pass a law to make it illegal? 12 Republicans? Yep. 12 Republicans join him. You know who's on board for this? Ted Cruz.
Oh, my God.
So it's good enough for Bernie Sanders, and it's good enough for Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz. Rand Paul also voted for this. John McCain also voted for this. You're like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm saying. The Democrats all come together around a good idea. They get the independents with them and they pick off purple states Republicans. But guess what? Ted Cruz ain't a purple state Republican and he went with it anyway. So I'm like, oh, this is going to pass. This is going to be great. Look at Bernie's a real leader. He's not a fairy duster. He's such a good legislator. He knows how to get Ted Cruz to go along with him. Guess who didn't go along with him? The corporate pig Democrats.
Senator Cory Booker.
Guys like, well, Cory Booker. He voted against it. And let me tell you something. When Cory Booker, that corporate pig Booker, number 3 in line, $267,000. Oh, right behind Pat Murray. Patty Murray, look at that. Democrats, good for nothing corporate pigs. And this is from Vox. How Cory Booker went from progressive hero to traitor in under 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The Sanders-Klobuchar proposal would have allowed Americans to buy prescription drugs from Canada where they're significantly cheaper. EpiPens, for instance, cost twice as much in the United States.
Lawmakers in Congress are trying to find out why prescription drug prices have gone up by 76% since 2010. Among invited guests at a hearing today, the former executive who raised the price of a potentially life-saving drug by 5,000%. He took the Fifth Amendment today.
So you're people who could die from allergic reactions, which that's a lot of poor people. Hey, give me my money. We need to gouge sick people. That's what we do in America, and the politicians enable it.
Senator Cory Booker.
Abilify is more than 6 times as much in the United States as it is in Canada. Are you proud of your country? Are you proud of your American corporations who Americans harder? The idea to import drugs from Canada, 72% of Americans support it. Guess who didn't go along with them? The corporate pig Democrats. Guys like, well, Cory Booker. Do you see how it doesn't matter who you vote for? 72% of America is for it. And the Democrats turn their back on their own goddamn people. They're not their own people. The Democrats' people are Big Pharma and Wall Street. And that's why we're in the pickle we're in. And that's why you can't let up the heat on the Democrats, because we got to get rid of these corporate if we're going to make any progress. You want to lose again in 2 years? Keep telling people like me to shut up. That's a great way to lose. Keep telling people like me and Glenn Greenwald and David Sirota and Jordan Chariton, keep telling people like us, like we're the problem. You grew up on a cul-de-sac, stupid idiot. Nobody who can I've never heard someone who can't afford their prescription drugs get mad at me about this. You know who's okay with the current neoliberals and Hillary Clinton and Cory Bookers? The people who have no trouble paying for their prescriptions. The guys who grew up in cul-de-sacs and have lots of money. That's who criticizes me for criticizing the corporate pigs who are the Democrats.